all our viewers. Thank you for joining with Industry Roundup with BRS video series. Today, we are going to talk about the most insightful topic of the day, IMF Extended Fund Facility. We know that Sri Lanka has finally received the much anticipated IMF Extended Fund Facility, but the question is, where will we go from here? Today, we have with us Lanka Ratings Agency Limited CEO, Mr. Adrian Pereira, to give us some key insights. Mr. Adrian, good day to you. So, my first question is, in your perspective, where will Sri Lanka go from here?
Okay. Now then, since IMF board has approved, the next step would be they will send us the agreement or whatever, and then they have said they are going to disperse within the next 2-3 days the first tranche. So that will help our reserves, and since the board has approved it, it's a huge confidence builder for the investors, which I feel it's a good thing. It's a good thing. With greatest difficulty, we can see that some countries are still struggling with IMF. We have taken certain bold decisions, so I think we should get the first tranche by next 2-3 days. Once that is sorted out, then it will help our reserves. Then of course we'll have to sign the relevant agreements and all that documentation part. So the next step would be the signing the documents, and there would be the conditions what we had to comply from going forward.
Our next question is, Sri Lanka has been granted the largest IMF fund facility in its history. So, this is the 17th time we have requested for an IMF fund facility. Why you see this time is different from previous times?
This is the 17th time, right? So this is the 17th time we are going out, but this time they'll be very strict on the IMF conditions. Previously, we have agreed to certain things, and then we have gone back and broken those promises, and we have not continued the facility. So that is why everybody says 16 times we have failed. Not failed, but we have not been able to continue on the IMF program. So this time they will ensure before the next tranche comes, since Sri Lanka is on a default already. So we need to ensure that we comply with all the conditions and put our house in order. We have to take a bitter pill. So now when they send the agreement, only if they submit it to Parliament, we will see what are the conditions that they have stipulated. I saw that they are going to do governance and transparency audit or whatever, and to ensure those things are there to reduce corruption and all that. So I think we will need IMF will do that study, and then they will put. Sri Lanka has to ensure that it complies with all the conditions, at least implement them. So the question is decision making and implementation. That is a challenge Sri Lanka is going to face.
Moving on to our next question. So this is about one of the trending topic these days, about the stabilization of rupee. Do you think the rupee will stabilize as a result of this IMF fund facility? And we would like to know how this will affect on Sri Lanka's reserves.
Yes, there will be some stabilization of the rupee, but that also will depend on how best we are going to implement the conditions, bringing FDIs, right? So it will help the reserve position definitely, but now we have to show the world that okay, whatever we promise, we are going to implement. So the implementation is going to be a challenge, because there will be certain things Sri Lanka has to take, like privatization. I'm not referring to listed companies like Sri Lanka Telecom and Lanka Hospital, which are low-hanging fruits. Anyway, they are used to the private sector. They are used to private sector operational model. But there will be some institutions which have never been privatized, which are still public sector, and they have the public sector culture and all that. Going away from that would be a very big challenge for those institutions. There will be political issues, union issues. So how well the government handles those is a challenge, and it will help the reserves. Rupee will stabilize, but it all depends. We can't say rupee stabilize, because it depends on the inflow and outflow. The import-export position will decide on the rupee, since it's floated. So it all depends. rupee will appreciate it, provided we get a lot of FDI. We get our FDI we are looking at, and yes, the government is looking at this MRT lateral railroad project from Japan, and that's a good thing. If we can get that on board, it will be a big advantage. Now, China has said they are also looking at extending the SOP facility. So those are things I think we'll be starting taking forward.
So we know that. So if we borrow money, we must pay. So how long is the repayment period for this IMF fund facility? And we would like to know your thoughts on what kind of interest rate would apply during the repayment period.
The repayment is usually 48 months and a month's IMF program, and it's a very low interest rate. But the issue is, I think I think they have said, I saw in the news that we have to propose a debt sustainability plan to the IMF. Now, that is going to be the challenge for Sri Lanka. How are we going to get it that time? So, governor has said he's going to start on it. Then there might be it might go up and down several times, and how IMF team looks at it and how we look at it, because we need some growth also. Otherwise, it's going to shrink the economy. There will be other issues that will coming up.
My final question is, we will be receiving the first tranche of USD 333 million US dollars as our first tranche. So afterwards, how will the funds be dispersed from IMF?
The challenge is how to get this debt sustainability plan and implementing that without having a severe impact on the economy. So that would be a challenge, because I hope they are not going for the local debt restructuring, domestic debt restructuring, but then we not only IMF, even the bilateral and multilateral creditors also will have to agree. So most likely there will be a stretching of the debt with a grace period. So within that period, we'll have to take it forward, put our house in orders when the repayments come, so that we have sufficient positive real reserves in our account to pay the debts out. So the challenge would be getting this debt sustainable plan and ensure that our revenues and debts are balanced. But going forward, I don't think there will be much room for populist policies, but we'll and slack. I must say, when I say slack, implementation of policies. So I think we need to get that thing sorted out. The government institutions need to be more efficient in approving investments, getting investments, and that would be a big challenge, and that would be the way forward. But the challenge would be the debt sustainability plan. Now the discussion will start with the bilateral and multilateral creditors and how they view it. So I think it would be good. The president has said he's trying to ask for a 10-year grace. That would be ideal. I always promulgate. So at least if we can get between 8 years at least, we have some breathing space to build up our reserves. So I think all in all, it's a good thing. You should get the IMF first tranche by the next within this week. So all in all, I think we need to look forward to how to get this, not only getting the tranche, how to implement these IMF proposals as soon as possible. It is good for the country and good for the people also. And I don't think we will be able to tax anymore, because people are taxed. Beyond this, I don't think we have the tax base to tax. But we need to look at some privatizations and get some money into reserves fast. And that has to happen fast. So it's good if they can. I think there are some more institutions they can look at and get the money to our kitty very fast, so that we can build up a strong reserve base and then take it forward. And then even the bilateral, multilateral creditors will look at it positively, saying, okay, these guys are now not like the other 16 times, 17 times, they are doing better.
So that brings us for the end of our BRS industry roundup on IMF Extended Fund Facility. Thank you, Mr. Adrian, for joining with us today. Watching us. For more information, please reach us via our official email research@bartleyrelegia.com. Stay tuned for our next video.